I was 34 when I inherited my aunt's AOL email account. It wasn't a vast fortune of possessions, but I found it wasn't just an email address. It was a time capsule. Back in 1999, my aunt was one of those people who embraced the dawn of the internet, often remarking on how it was a web of voices waiting to be heard. Now here I was, staring at the stark blue interface of her old account, the task of sorting through her digital footprint ahead of me. There, among the forgotten digital detritus, I noticed it had 50 saved drafts. Out of nostalgia and a strange mix of unease, I clicked through the familiar elements. Greetings composed with that characteristic cursive font of hers, messages discussing afternoon tea, encouraging words to family members. I remembered my aunt fondly, her superstitious beliefs about how technology could harbor spirits, a combination of hope and caution that lingered with me. I settled down with my laptop, letting the memories wash over me like a warm wave. This was the early internet, filled with dial-up sounds and the thrill of connections, a much simpler time when people wrote letters, even on screens. As I perused through the drafts, each one tugged at my heart, stirring recollections of school break conversations and lazy summer afternoons. But then, scrolling through the drafts, a tightness settled in my stomach. There was something about the last draft that disturbed me. Though the entries felt like windows into her past, hints of something felt hidden just beneath the surface. The last draft, the 50th, labeled simply important, was looming, a dark cloud among the hills. As I hovered over the title, that gentle warmth turned ice cold. I opened the file. The air around me shifted. A warning about my spouse. I froze. My blood ran cold, and I could hardly breathe. How could she know? The draft detailed specific and unsettling information I recognized all too well. Details about my spouse I hadn't even shared with anyone, not even her. This is a prank, I whispered to myself, trying to shake off the dread settling around me. Yet the name was unmistakable. With each line, my sense of disbelief deepened. Just how could she have known? The connection to the time frame, the specificity, it was unnerving. My ears rang as I retraced my thoughts, mentally playing back every last moment when I'd spoken of my life to her. I began to rationalize, trying to convince myself this was some sort of corrupted data or an elaborate prank, a glitch left to disorient me in an already alien digital landscape. But I couldn't ignore it. I found myself compelled to dig deeper. I needed to see what else was in those drafts. Before dread could override my curiosity, I clicked through the earlier entries, grasping for context. What else had she written, and why was it so important for me to know? The first drafts were mundane. Lovely notes about her latest trips to the farmer's market, bubbly encounters with neighbors, and thoughts on her favorite recipes. They were all warm and inviting, filled with her gentle inflections and endearing quirks. In fact, it was almost comforting until I approached the last draft. My heart raced. As I scrolled further down, a lump formed in my throat. So many memories flooded back, memories tangled with the fear that something was waiting for me under the surface. However, I muttered just above a whisper, as I approached the last draft, unease settled in. What had she left me? If you want to hear more about the secrets hidden in forgotten technology, subscribe to the channel. Because what I found in these drafts changed my understanding of the past. The more I examined my aunt's life in the late 90s, the more I felt myself pull into her world. She was a vibrant figure in my childhood, exuding an affinity for quirky gadgets and a love for the evolving landscape of the internet. My partially formed memories of her often wrapped around her fascination with the new and unusual. How she would decorate her emails with clip art, a kitten here, a snowman there, and express her thoughts with an air of enchantment. She lived through the rise of the internet, where layers of excitement filled every connection, and wrote as if the world was about to explode with possibilities. As I read through her drafts, I could feel her presence flooding back. Memories of family gatherings and long chats swirled in my mind, her laughter dancing lightly with the rhythms of the past. But even amidst this nostalgic comfort, there was one detail that made my heart flutter with trepidation. I was grounded in a moment that meant everything, but the air had grown heavier, weighing down on my chest as I zeroed in on the last draft. The earlier drafts were personal notes, simple emails marked with LOL and "you won't believe what happened today." Nothing unusual until I reached the bottom where a sense of familiarity met me with dread. I felt overwhelmed. By the time I got to her final entry, however, it became painfully clear. Her thoughts diverged from her usual reflections, spiraling into a warning tone that sent chills shooting down my spine. I felt it upend every comforting thought. It was like stepping onto a spongy surface that warped and plunged into darkness. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was standing on the edge of a precipice. The moment I laid my eyes on the last draft was when unease settled in. I didn't expect my state of mind to hinge on this file, yet here I was, confused. It didn't just tiptoe into absurdity, it dove straight into the depths. What was going on? At that moment, what surfaced was nothing close to normal. It was as if my senses were on high alert, whispers of impending dread twirling behind me. I hitched a breath as I faced what lay before me.
"That can't be right," I murmured again and again, each time as if I was attempting to banish it into thin air. I braced for an explanation but found none. I couldn't escape the notion that this was a coincidence. The likelihood that error and intent mingled within her emails seemed unfathomable. Curiosity clashed violently with my instincts, creating sparks of doubt as I considered my next steps. If this is starting to give you chills, hit that like button. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. But logic demanded meddling questions I could barely entertain. What if this wasn't just a slip of syntax or grammar? What if this inexplicable phenomenon held more weight than I dared to think? I scanned through the details, a punishing exercise that churned my stomach. The name mentioned in the last draft reverberated like a distant echo. My spouse. It wasn't merely a common name, but a name that evoked visceral memories, the kind that clung to my ribs and twisted uncomfortably. Could this really have been my aunt's way of warning me? I flipped through a few more drafts, anxiety coursing through me. A cocktail of disbelief and paranoia began to swirl together. What I discovered left me unsettled with every new detail, breadcrumbs stacking up against me. I recalled conversations I had about my spouse and the gentle banter we shared. I picked at the threads in my mind, unraveled them to discover how we had only recently made a life together. Still, the events I lived began to pull tighter, connecting with dense layers of anxiety. Exploring the drafts, I couldn't help but note those that outlined mundane encounters as if she was stalking the marrow of our lives. As I drew closer to the drafts, my heart leadened with everything I felt too afraid to acknowledge. The revelations deepened into a full-scale offense against my disbelief. Suddenly, the quaint notes morphed into deep obsessions tied to a complex story I thought I knew. It seemed almost inevitable as I reread them, looking for the key she must have left behind. Maybe she left clues about what I should have seen far before I sunk into the shadows cradling those drafts. What had once been another treasure trove of nostalgia now felt like a collection of portents. Each entry fit into the puzzle of an ominous horizon. I felt hunted by these messages that drew me toward a widening terror. They mirrored parts of my life that I'd previously ignored. But I was entirely unprepared for the implications of the next draft. The layers of fear unfolded like pages in a thriller. Each twist sank deeper into my brain. A primal need to protect overrode everything else, gnawing my thoughts into frayed edges. As I went from one draft to another, visiting echoes of past memories,
I searched for reassurance in the mundane. She was full of life. What could she have known? But as I questioned whether to dig further, I realized that I might have breached a threshold too delicate. I sought the counsel of friends online, pulling otherworldly threads to locate familiar patterns. What should be a comforting nostalgia had dimmed the brightness of early internet days. Now it filled me with a mounting dread. Desperation bled through every connection I'd made. I couldn't even grasp the larger implications lurking for me. I turned from stranger to stranger, seeking solace in theories they offered. Nothing satisfied the growing pit of unease in my stomach as my fingers fumbled across the keys, revisiting drafts that hinted at future events with names that had grown all too familiar. Comment below. Have you ever had a message from the past that felt like a warning? I need to know I'm not alone in this. I prowled through the drafts as if they held the keys to examining a life I thought ran smoothly, all perfectly enjoyed. Each entry a soft stitch connecting my past, now confronted with uncertainties threatening to unravel them all. And with every warning discovered, the timeline made less sense. How was it possible she knew my spouse's name? She had only met them briefly, only ever spoken sweetly, discussing distant relatives and fleeting thoughts about her conventional life, but nothing close to revealing the dangers ahead. Navigating her words spiraled from tantalizing pulls on nostalgic memories to cold realizations. An entire battleground of thoughts turned to twilit anonymous terrors. I felt a push toward panic at the thought of her sending her warnings between the ether, fashioning more questions than anyone could answer. But there was something more existently eerie brewing in the drafts. Anticipation grew thick and heady as the message implied every probability was tightly wound within those digital pages. It all spiraled deeper. The twisting revolved around key remnants of my life now jeopardized. This wasn't just the musings of a mundane individual. These drafts sagged under the weight of seeping dread that tethered to my reality. The peaks of paranoia breached as foreboding whispers spiraled into waking dreams, like twisted strands of fate wrapped around my very core. I needed to reach through the E-void and contact my spouse. I needed to assess the dangerous melancholy surfacing around me just as fast as it could drape down threads like shadows. The messages from my aunt no longer seemed merely cute relics of the past. They morphed into sinister designs interlinked with my present while I searched for proof. I could feel the grip of tension turn to panic, clutching at my thoughts as I dialed her number, wondering whether we were still the same people who believed in each other, or if we were caught up in something far more sinister. Often, the connection between our lives conflicted, folding down the lines of the unknown. Amid panic, reciting words laden with emotions, I tossed under the darkness. What if she knew? And with every fragmented thought growing near, the very act of trying to converse placed me tightly between fragments of time. A fight against the revealing messages offered through those drafts. They became a fever dream, full of lives I didn't live. They gripped me in a compulsion I had to cut through. But each attempt whirled through spirals. Each reply turned axioms of ill fate to alchemy. Each action met with unsettling sidesteps toward the predicted outcomes. The messages, like the tendrils of the past, wrapped around my mind. Perhaps what I had labeled as coincidence was more than just random. They were pathways leading back to something designed purely for me and for her. The revelations gnawed relentlessly at my sanity, the pressure around my being compressing as if I was being caught in a tightening vice. That's when I realized the drafts weren't just warnings, they were blueprints for outcomes. The sheer terror blanketed me like a shroud as I confided in my spouse, desperately searching for any way forward. But it felt like speaking prophecies dismissed with every breach as I laid my heart bare and the fear spiraled further out of control. Dreams became twisted shadows of the night holding together delusions, though clarity seemed eerily palpable alongside despair. I could only embrace spirals of memories dragging me back to that innocuous AOL account where time looped and twisted feelings seemed to reach above and beyond. But no, this time felt very real. Profound emotions crystallized under the tension of what could be lost, the most visceral futures sinking into darkness. Faced within that newfound understanding, every warning from my aunt pulled tighter, revealing deeper shadows. Could I escape those foreseen entrapments, or was I simply a puppet in my aunt's orchestral narrative? I knew it wasn't just me, but everyone around me was at risk. Standing on the precipice, a pulse of urgency gripped my heart. I saw how she had once tethered herself to me through time, revealing conscious designs drifting beyond her address book. My world fractured like glass, splintering into what could be a realm governed by choices, or simply the woven patterns of fate forged against me eternally. Yet I had to confront them anyway. As I gripped that realization, I silenced thoughts of how I could reverse the courses foreseen so painfully laid out. I had to confront those drafts, clawing myself to eyes turned away from their woven reality, questions flaring as the space around me steadily frayed. But with each theory that failed, the implications of the drafts grew worse. There were reasons I had come to dig into those messages. My heart raced away from the familiar space, spiraling deep as I braced myself for inevitable confrontation. It was a swift descent into unveiling whether I had shattered my existence alongside my spouse or merely reached beyond the veil where my aunt waited. So I sought the roots of deeper connections, and along the prongs and cords, I was ensnared. Outside, the world lingered in its quietude. I began reevaluating every moment that spiraled backward into distinct patterns that had emerged. Causality woven with uncertainty felt gagged with furor, generating every step, every action for me ahead, a desperate need to carve closer to the truth. Yet every time I turned back, I saw my reflection within those shadows, each answer eluding my grasp. There were threads unspooled, events swirled about forecasting doom. I scrubbed down the entries one last time, desperate to unlock their meaning, trailblazing connections from past to future. I realized I was being guided, not warned. Searching through webs of predictions tied to those entries felt less like placing clues, but attending a pier before what I struck too close to home. What stood before me carved itself into the silt of fate as each chilling entry molded expectations of what was about to unfold. No recourse remained, only the brazen truth gaping back. Realization surged as the frantic murmurs from past drafts began evolving again, suggestive notes lurking around every band. Each departure from the shadows caught the febrile strands straining between light. I still have the drafts, and they keep changing. The web stayed taut, the layers refused to relent, spinning anew while perceptions danced like the light around aisles. I felt detached. The distance yielded everything encompassing, but within me festered an indescribable will to grasp it closer. I've compiled extensive research on temporal anomalies linked to vintage technologies. They're all in my ebook. If you find this intriguing, check the link below. Amid my sense of mirroring everything growing more complex, I found myself standing in what now felt like an agonizing continuum of uncertainty. Future drafts pulsed through the screen, taunting me with every connection accumulating. Those ominous whispers did not rest. They bloomed further, constructing realities beyond my reach. And as the weight pressed against my chest, I stumbled to find momentary closure with everything that filled my mind. I would watch for the drafts arriving, remaining wary despite tenuous connections curling around light. Even now, every entry sent chills through me, haunting reminders of where threads would stretch, of what the future contained. I breathed into silence, reckoning with the endless unknown and its grasp. For a full analysis on temporal phenomena and related anomalies I've documented, check my ebook. There's more than one story woven through time. The threads of existence kept whispering back, melted into quirks behind the screen, fears that pulsed with each breath, thoughts spiraled toward unreachable specters to linger upon. I confronted empty spaces further, standing in confrontations already foretold, awakening too close to those recollections that threaded paths to my future. Time shifted effortlessly into realms I thought trapped, bringing life unto ghosts that couldn't linger behind closed emails. Even now, sitting with the drafts entering the yawning gaps between reality and what might have been, I felt their persistent snugness wrapping around my every step, a journey through shadows reaching back through layers of my existence. And though I returned to the final moments encasing me alongside those digital glimmers spelling secrets, questions remained alive with no true end. Nothing ever has followed right, just the whisper of phantom drafts hovering lightly above. In the strangled silence, I left my fears unfurling before time's heart, dancing eternally beyond the unknown, while I awaited whatever voice may spill forth next. Those echoes twisting ever forward, stitching tales in shadows that remains ageless even now. I felt the air still around me, the weight of silence pressing in as I scrolled through my aunt's drafts one more time. Perhaps it was naive, but I was convinced that if I dug deep enough, I might find a way to absolve my fear, some explanation that would lift the veil of ominous anxiety. My childhood memories of her painted a picture of warmth, her quirks and superstitions firmly rooted in her beliefs about the unseen connections between people. Everything is intertwined, like magic, she would say, glimmering with enthusiasm over the dawn of the internet. But now, that magic felt sinister, the drafts transforming from nostalgic relics into something threatening. They sagged under the weight of their prescience, chilling warnings entwining with my reality. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being drawn down a rabbit hole, and I needed to decide quickly how far I would go. With each passing minute, my heart raced, caught between dread and a morbid curiosity. The last draft loomed ominously, taunting me with the knowledge I could not bear to confront. I had read it countless times, but every look brought fresh terror. The warning about my spouse, a chillingly personal forecast that I had dismissed as absurd, now felt ominously prophetic. What if it was all true? Was my aunt trying to prepare me for something I couldn't yet comprehend? As I dialed my spouse's number, I hesitated, wondering if it would shatter the fragile illusion of normalcy we had built. What if I unraveled a thread that led to an inescapable future of suffering? All those lingering doubts pressed down upon me, sharp and unforgiving, swirling like tumultuous waters. Anxiety gripped me, and the thought of those drafts tightened around my throat like a vice. How did the mundane transform so quickly into a harbinger of despair? "Hello?" My spouse answered, their tone cutting through my urgency like a knife. My heart raced as I considered speaking the truth. I pitied how my fears had twisted into a monstrous web, sheer fabrications drawn from the mundane essence of my aunt's words. Confessing felt akin to inviting misfortune into our home, framing a narrative already dictated by lines of code and digital ghosts. But the palpable pull forced me to speak. "Can we talk?" I ventured, channeling all my composure into a single sentence. At that moment, I felt the grim grasp of the past wrap my mind in a suffocating shroud. Torn between two worlds, my present and the predictive glimmer of the drafts, I felt my reality pulsing, stretching taut against the weight of prophecy. Those echoes from my aunt's wisdom seemed less like wisdom and more like warnings veiling themselves in the guise of familial love, urging me toward an unknown that felt immutable. "What else have you left behind?" I wondered, seeking answers as the walls of certainty began to collapse around me. "I need your help," I finally managed, the words heavy with desperation. It struck me that I was caught between realms of what I believed to be imagination and a reality crafted from uncertainty and dread. As I awaited my spouse's response, the room felt colder, the air charged with a question that loomed between us. What if I unravel the threads of fate? The silence buzzed with tension, and I realized the drafts weren't just chilling echoes of the past. They had woven themselves into the very fabric of my present reality. Each letter read like a plea for caution, an intricate map guiding me down a path of impending darkness. Finally, as that familiar voice broke through the tension, I leaned in closer, prepared to confront the haunting specters that lingered within every warning. Perhaps within this chaos lay the key to my salvation, or to my undoing. I felt the air thicken around me, heavy with unspoken fears, as I dialed my spouse's number. Uncertainty churned within me, the weight of what I was about to reveal pressing against my chest like a vice. "Can we talk?" I managed to say, my voice trembling under the strain. "What's going on?" They sounded concerned, and I took a deep breath, deliberating how to diffuse the tension brewing over these ominous drafts. Speaking the truth felt like inviting chaos into our carefully constructed life, a life that felt increasingly fragile the deeper I delved into my aunt's prophetic warnings. "I found something in my aunt's old emails," I confessed, the words tumbling out in a rush. "There are drafts about you, predictions that I can't shake." I could almost hear the wheels turning in their mind, disbelief creeping in despite that flicker of concern I sensed. "Predictions? What are you talking about?" "It sounds crazy, but the more I read, the more it feels real. She wrote things that haven't happened yet, things that could affect you." My heart raced. I could almost feel the walls around me closing in. The fear I had tried to contain suddenly spilled over, and I sensed my spouse's skepticism. Who wouldn't doubt such a thing? "Okay, calm down. What exactly does it say?" They were trying to anchor the conversation, but my mind raced with images of all the drafts, laden with secrets, almost sentient in their foreboding. Warnings, things that could be harmful. I need to know we're together in this, that we're not just letting fate unfold. I fought to keep the desperation out of my voice, aware that I needed their belief in me, yet questioning how much of my own I had left. "I don't want to freak out, but this sounds wild," they replied slowly. "You really think your aunt was trying to warn you?" "I do. She was often right about things she shouldn't have known. It's almost as if she could see patterns that connected us across time, tying our lives together in ways I'm just starting to understand." I recognized the urgency rising within me, a plea for them to embrace the possibility that these warnings held weight. "That's a lot to unpack," they murmured, voice laced with caution. "How can you be sure they're legitimate?" "I can't explain it fully," I admitted, fighting against the urge to shut down. "But if you subscribe to the notion that some things go beyond mere coincidence, I think we can uncover these connections together. We have to investigate." "Okay, I'm in. But we must approach this with a clear head instead of letting fear lead us." Their agreement washed over me like a balm, wrapping around the edges of my anxiety and easing the grip on my heart. We were united on this, however peculiar it felt. "Thank you," I breathed. "If you want to follow along with what I've discovered or dig deeper into this story, just hit the subscribe button. There's so much more lurking in the shadows, and we need to unravel it together." The weight of both our convictions lingered in a silence threaded with apprehensive hope. I couldn't help but feel my heart skip, a small spark ignited amidst the uncertainty. Together, we could face the intertwining past that my aunt had laid before me, no longer alone in the chaos. "Let's go through the emails together," I proposed, my fingers itching to return to the screen where my uncharted fears lay in wait. I knew that every draft carried a burden that dared weave itself into our lives, a tapestry of fate demanding to be understood and explored. As we ended the call, I felt a hint of clarity among the lingering doubts. The echoes of my aunt's insights wrapped around me like threads, whispering promises of revelations yet to come. I would dive back into those emails, the haunting reflections echoing through time, ready to confront whatever shadows awaited. The drafts kept swirling in my mind, each one an invitation to explore the past while remaining tethered to the uncertain future. I braced myself, staring at the screen once more, ready to reopen that portal. What awaited me would bring illumination or entrapment. The choice lay in the unraveling, gathering the courage to peer into the depths where time and memory intertwined. My heart raced as the computer hummed to life. The weight of my aunt's drafts loomed large over me, snapping me back into the unsettling reality I was wrestling with. A reality where words on a screen might hold the answers to threats I could scarcely comprehend. I took a deep breath and resisted the urge to turn back. This was the moment I needed to push through the dread that coiled around my mind. Settling into my chair, I opened the email folder marked Drafts. Each title stared back at me, their familiarity now twisted into something sinister. I hesitated at the one brightly labeled Final Warning. This time, instead of a mere scroll through her life as I had read it before, it felt heavy with impending doom. As the document loaded, I scanned its contents, grip tightening on the edge of my desk. Her familiar cursive sprawled across the page like a shadow, the words pulsing with meaning I had yet to fully grasp. Everything is intertwined. Yes, she believed that connections ran deeper than the eye could see, but now it bore the piercing sharp of dire predictions rather than the benign magic of childhood memories. With each line, the weight of her knowledge pressed down on my chest. Beware the day the clock strikes midnight on the equinox. Panic twisted in my gut as the calendar replayed the looming date mere days away. My aunt wasn't just sharing wisdom, she was bequeathing warnings, signs leading straight into the heart of some approaching calamity. I locked my gaze on the screen, a whirl of emotions merging into an urgent resolve. I needed to share this with my spouse, to let them see the gravity of what lay within the layers of those words and confront whatever was on the horizon. Recalling our earlier conversation, I remembered the fragile spark of hope igniting beneath my anxiety. Together, we could explore these threads of fate. I canvassed the other drafts in swiftly flicking motions. The next caught my eye. Missing pieces. This could unravel yet another layer and reveal more connections. What if these pieces could tell us how to navigate the coming storm? I opened the document and felt my breath hitch. Your relationship with time is flawed. The words danced ominously across the screen. My heart skipped a beat. What did she know about my perceptions? What truths about the past remained sealed? The more I read, the clearer it became that my aunt had not only foreseen events, but had sensed impending shifts in reality itself. Invisible strings pulling at the fabric of our lives. Look for the signs that do not match your memories, she urged in stark outlines, scribbles now leaping off the page as an urgent summons to action. Each letter morphed into an invitation to explore the chasms of time, an exploration I could not complete alone. The tension escalated, and I could feel the oppressive silence of the room pressing against my shoulders. With each second stretched tightly, I realized this wasn't just about understanding her drafts. It was a confrontation with my own fears about how deeply interconnected we all are through time and circumstance. Just past this screen lay truths begging to be unearthed, a darkness threatening to unravel all I held dear. I began to write notes in the margins, thoughts spilling from my mind as I tackled the daunting weight of the revelations. Every letter transformed into armor against the impending pressure, urging me to peel through layers of my own unease. If you find this story compelling, hit that like button, I typed impulsively. Every interaction tells the universe that we will not remain silent in front of fate. We're ready to face the unknowns together. With that small act of defiance, a renewed sense of purpose flooded through me. The flickering light of my screen felt like the guiding hand of my aunt, posthumously reaching out to me through the veil. The sense of urgency around me tightened, yet I found clarity amid the whirlwind of the unknown. "Don't let it consume you," she wrote, and I realized how deeply those words resonated with my current state, a fueling fire igniting my resolve against the wave of uncertainty. There was something ever so empowering in the act of digging into the depths of her foresight while grappling with the implications of my own existence. With a shake of determination, I prepared to embrace whatever darkness awaited in the depths of her drafts. Together, my spouse and I would journey through these tangled narratives spanning generations in time, tethered by something stronger than simple fate. I was ready to confront whatever shadows lay ahead, knowing that the path leading through the rabbit hole could illuminate truths not just for myself, but for all that I loved. It was time to go deeper, weaving through the tapestry of time, pulling at every thread she had left behind, encouraged by the knowledge that we were not destined to drift aimlessly through uncertainty, but poised to carve a path toward understanding and perhaps some semblance of control over our fate. The tension in the air felt electrified as I opened the Missing Pieces draft deeper still, my heart thumping a frantic rhythm. The room around me faded into obscurity, the only illumination coming from the flickering glow of my computer screen. These words were not just remnants of my aunt's thoughts. They had transformed into urgent lifelines, my only tether to understanding the precarious threads of fate spinning around us. "Your relationship with time is flawed." Those words resonated through me, igniting a fire within. What if this was more than just a warning? What if it was a challenge? I could almost hear my aunt's voice as I read the subsequent lines, her insistence presenting what felt like an impossible task. "You must confront the distortions in your past." I felt an oppressive weight settle on my shoulders. The implications were suffocating. I furrowed my brow, grappling with the invitation to sink into this entangled web. Memories of my aunt wrapped around me like a favorite yet tattered blanket, comfort infused with loss. Would reading these drafts bring me solace or drown me in an ocean of uncertainty? Still, I pressed on. To understand, I needed to strive for clarity even amidst the murkiness. "Every distortion in your memory could lead to a fracture in your reality," she warned. I needed to sit with that, to untangle what transformations I had undergone and how they might impact my future. What did that fracture refer to? Could my recollections of our time together hold the key to solving this mystery? Delving into my subconscious became a necessity. What truths had I ignored? Suddenly, a revelation struck me. The inconsistencies in my memories weren't just slips. They were a bridge to understanding how my subjective reality linked deeply with the timeline I inhabited. I began to jot down notes of all the moments when clarity had eluded me, desperately trying to piece them together. I recalled her quirky tales about how her own past had shaped her understanding of time, stories of how one choice, one single event, could change everything. She had woven those tales with a knowing smile, explaining that memory itself was fluid, malleable, changing at every turn. "What happens when you test your memory? Look for the patterns hiding in plain sight," she wrote. I took a breath, a spark of determination igniting within me. "Look for the signs," she insisted, and I wondered if they were marked with a faint scent of despair or a whisper of hope. The drafts illuminated pathways obscured by my preconceived notions. I had to find the complements and contradictions in my own life story to discover where they intersected with her warnings. A sudden thought surged through me. What if I wasn't alone in this fight for clarity? Turning my attention back to the document, my mind spun wildly. What do these signs look like? Was it something deliberate? Or were they merely echoes of moments gone by, lurking in shadowed corners of my memory? Before I could dwell on it further, the screen darkened and a soft message blinked into life. Comment on this draft to share your experience. A bolt of awareness struck me. If I was wrestling with this threat of fate, perhaps others had felt the weight of time as well. I hesitated, unsure how to articulate the swirling chaos within myself. What would I even say? Drop a comment below about any moments from the past that felt distorted to you. The words poured out, almost involuntarily. Have there been instances when memories didn't feel quite right or felt unfairly altered by time? Are you struggling to decipher the connections between past and present? I paused and exhaled, realizing sharing would alleviate some burden, even foster a collective understanding. It was no longer solely about my journey. Profound connections could be forged in shared experiences. My head spun, excitement and fear locking arms, each waiting for the other to budge. My fingers raced over the keyboard as thoughts spilled forth, maybe not neatly, but raw and honest. Amid the uncertain emotions flooding my veins, I felt buoyed by the knowledge that I might uncover parallels in other stories, and that together we could navigate the time-worn paths laid before us by those who came before. Together we can weave through memories and decipher what shapes our realities. I concluded with a fragile sense of resolve, a promise that we would not shy away from the distortions, unwillingly turning our backs on the truth of existence. I pressed the comment button, the weight of it lost in a cascade of anticipation and relief, a small step into a great unknown. As the words settled into the digital ether, a shift occurred within me. I felt solid ground beneath my feet, emboldened by the struggles we shared. Not just mine, but each of us spiraling through a web of familiar ties, missed connections, and hidden patterns that defined our lives. With each draft read, I rummaged for threads we could weave into a narrative, a lifeline stitched with the resolve to confront the unknown. Every awkward silence in those pages became a call to action, a reminder that some truths demanded confrontation, no matter how unsettling they felt. Now, with newfound clarity igniting my resolve, I prepared to dive deeper still, ready to transcend the walls of time and memory, daring to breach the edges of the unknown. The shock of uncertainty wrapped around me like a cloak, but I welcomed it, determined to weave through the tapestry of fate laid out by my aunt, while seeking illuminations that might help untangle my own reality. There was so much left to explore, I could hardly contain my anticipation for what lay ahead. The glow of the computer screen illuminated the dark room as I prepared to delve deeper into my aunt's drafts, feeling the weight of her words pressing down on my soul. Many roads diverge from the same point in time, she had written, and I couldn't help but wonder which road I was currently traversing. The fear of losing sight of reality surged within me, intertwining with the thrill of the unknown. I was standing at the brink of something profound. With every passage I read, her insights carved paths through the labyrinth of my memories, igniting connections I had long overlooked. My fingers flew over the keyboard as I typed my thoughts furiously into my notes, the realization that this wasn't just historical musings. Each revelation had the power to redefine my present. "Don't be a mere puppet to destiny," she wrote. "Seal your past, and it will grant you freedom." The call for action rang through me. How many sides of my past had I ignored in favor of comfort? With every heartbeat, I began to see how the fractures in my memories fueled the uncertainty ravaging my conscience. "Every distortion means you're meant to rewrite your narrative," my aunt urged. There was something liberating in her warning that felt urgent as I wrestled with the current constellations of my past. Perhaps I could, in fact, rewrite reality. But what did that truly mean? I needed clarity, an understanding of how to challenge those very distortions that weighed heavily upon my heart. I returned to her drafts, determined to glean the tools that my aunt had gifted me.
It was time to unravel the fabric of my own life, to seize the pen and draw lines through time, allowing emotions to merge, expand, and evolve. As I scrolled down, my eyes locked on another document emblazoned with the title, The Reckoning. What awaited me there? I felt my pulse quicken at the thought of it, a mixture of trepidation and anticipation surging within me. She had warned that reckoning demanded courage to face the shadows that lurked in the corners of memory. My heart raced as I opened the draft. The truth lies hidden at the crux of your existence, buried beneath layers of denial, she cautioned. Each sentence was saturated with meaning, grounded in a wisdom that transcended temporal bounds. I had skirted around my own truths for far too long. What awaited my discovery? I steered my thoughts toward intention, fueling my resolve. Dig deep, she wrote. Only in understanding your fears can you master your reality. The words were a senatorial promise, a talisman guiding me through uncertainty. I needed to confront the ghosts of my past directly, acknowledging the pieces I had cast aside. Every recollection served as a key capable of unlocking a door to understanding my fragile psyche. The thought sent a shiver down my spine, awakening both anxiety and a profound sense of urgency. Before I could ponder my next steps further, a notification chimed, arriving like a soft ray of light in the enveloping gloom. Hit that thanks button to support the journey of discovery, it urged, resonating deep within me. I realized that this wasn't just my exploration, it resonated on a collective level. Each contribution carried weight, empowering the collective ethos that bound us all as seekers of enlightenment. I paused, contemplating. It wasn't merely about unveiling the past, it was about reclaiming it. Thank you for joining me on this journey, I typed, the words pouring out like a blessing. With each click of the thanks button, you empower us to listen to these ancestral voices that demand recognition. A sense of camaraderie enveloped me. Maybe, just maybe, there were other souls who had traversed paths of uncertainty fueled by the interpretations of time. Others who had gathered the strength to confront their narratives. Fueled by this thought, I examined the drafts anew, seizing upon the energy coursing through me as I delved deeper into The Reckoning. This was more than just a simple reflection of my past. It was a powerful acknowledgement of how faced fears could be transformed into strengths. I felt ready to harness the lessons my aunt had left behind, aligning narratives in such a way that my life felt intentional, fortified, and profoundly alive. Together, we can reshape our futures, I whispered. The spiritual tapestry intertwined, threads connecting ancestors and descendants alike, drawing us into a network woven by shared experiences. I would not remain silent in this journey. This unfolding of self was meant to illuminate paths as we stepped through the fabric of once was. With newfound determination illuminating my path, I prepared to drive in further, ready to confront haunting truths as I wove together the tapestry of time and memory. The shadows awaited eagerly, and with each keystroke I pledged to mine them earnestly, gathering strength from the uncharted realms of my past. Here, at the intersection of revelation and reckoning, I would discover not only the truths woven from my aunt's insights, but the evasive threads of my own reality, illuminating the road ahead to an understanding still ahead. The glow of the screen illuminated my determined expression as I prepared to dive deeper into The Reckoning. My heart pulsed with the rhythm of anticipation mixed with trepidation as I positioned my fingers over the keyboard, ready to explore the labyrinth of my aunt's insights. The truth lies hidden at the crux of your existence, buried beneath layers of denial. Her words had transformed from mere text into an unwavering call to action. Each line structured a path, inviting me to unearth the concealed fragments of my past, pieces I had tucked away when they became too painful to confront.
I could almost hear her voice urging me onward, beckoning me to embrace the discomfort and the storm brewing within. Dig deep, she implored. Only in understanding your fears can you master your reality. Those words resonated, echoing in the chambers of my memory, driving me to examine the very essence of my existence. I steeled myself, reminding my heart that confronting the darkness could illuminate the dawn. Let the shadows become your friends, she wrote. I pressed further into the document, absorbing each phrase, allowing them to weave through my consciousness. The metaphorical shadows were daunting, but I sensed they also held keys to powerful transformations. My desire to confront the ghosts pulled me toward gripping revelations, weaving a potent narrative that could change everything. As I typed my reflections, a sudden notification blinked on the screen, interrupting my concentration. Join the channel membership for exclusive insights into navigating generational trauma and memory. It was a simple proposition, yet it struck a chord deep within me. I paused, envisioning a community bound by the exploration of shared histories. There was power in connection, an invisible thread linking our narratives across time. What if I could learn from others' experiences? I pondered, feeling a rush of exhilaration at the thought. Together, we could dissect our pasts, unearthing the wisdom needed to guide our futures. I opened the membership information, my heart racing at the possibilities ahead. By becoming a member, I began typing, you enable us to build this tapestry of interconnected stories. Together, we can foster understanding, healing, and clarity in our lives. The words poured forth, a seamless extension of my thoughts. Imagine a space where our collective memories converge, I continued, realizing the potential for shared healing lay in that very idea. To become a member means to unlock pathways for discussion, reflection, and insight into the experiences that shape our realities. As my fingers danced across the keyboard, I envisioned a community united by their journeys. We would gather together to face the distortions of time, to illuminate one another's narratives. Join us and let's embrace the chaos of our memories, transforming it into wisdom, I urged. With every word, I felt the energy of solidarity envelop me, a warmth blossoming within. If others were willing to delve into their histories alongside me, perhaps we could collectively navigate the complexities of memory. It was a thrilling prospect, a gathering of souls seeking to rewrite the stories of their lives, entwining our threads to create a strong fabric of legacy. The urge to explore further drove me. With that membership blurb finally typed out, I returned my focus to the draft. The reckoning, I whispered to the darkened room, invigorated by the thought that perhaps reckoning didn't just mean facing truth alone, but engaging with others on that turbulent journey. As I scrolled through the pages, the revelations continued to settle over me like whispers from the past. What happens when you cast light on the shadows? Maybe they reveal something extraordinary. I took a deep breath, determined to face the discomfort that came with enlightenment. The strands of my aunt's wisdom wove through my mind, reinforcing my resolve. I prepared to peel back layers of my memories, each moment a chance for empowerment, the chance to confront what I had previously hidden. With newfound clarity lighting my path, I felt emboldened. The layers of my reality would emerge, and with them, not only the selves I had once known, but also those I had yet to embrace. The interconnected tales woven in this draft enveloped me, and a strange kinship bloomed, a sense that our narratives were threads in a larger design that transcended time. My journey was not just about reclaiming my memories, but connecting with others who held similar stories. With each step I took, I was reminded that courage thrived in vulnerability. As I leaned into the exploration of my past, I made a silent vow. I would not walk alone. I embraced the shadows, opened myself to the revelations I would uncover, and extended my hand, inviting others to join me on this labyrinthine quest for truth. This journey through the reckoning would become a shared odyssey, sculpted by the weight of history and the promise of connection. And so I prepared to venture forth, armed with the knowledge that facing the unknown would lead not just to my own enlightenment, but perhaps also pave the way for others in search of clarity. With our collective resolve lighting the way, together we would illuminate the path of possibility, a dance through legacy and memory, buried truths yearning to shine. The night deepened, shadows creeping around me as I prepared to immerse myself in the depths of the reckoning. Each word felt like an invitation to unveil layers of my past I had long buried, and the anticipation coursed through me like an electric current. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to draw forth the memories that clung to the edges of my consciousness like moths circling a flickering flame. Every distortion of the past serves a purpose, my aunt had written, illuminating the refractive nature of memory. What if these fragments weren't mere echoes of regret or sorrow, but carefully crafted lessons waiting to take shape? I felt the weight of those words. They beckoned me into a deeper understanding, pushing me to confront the dissonance that had shadowed my life. I began typing furiously, documenting my thoughts as the analogues of her wisdom intertwined with my reflections. What had shaped the person I had become? Each recollection rekindled a faint pulse of suppressed emotion. Fear of facing the truth doesn't negate its existence, I typed, feeding off my aunt's guidance. Denial leads to stagnation. Acceptance paves the way for liberation. The act of writing became cathartic. Memories no longer felt like chains binding me. Instead, they transformed into stepping stones toward clarity. I navigated the labyrinth of past mistakes and triumphs, stringing together moments that had once defined me. I found myself exploring my childhood, recalling laughter that intertwined with shadows. Long summers spent at my grandparents' house, the peculiar musty smell lingering in the dusty attic where my toys were left behind, just as I left so many dreams behind. Suddenly, another notification interrupted my flow. Grab the complete ebook to delve deeper into these narratives, explore the paradoxes of time, and discover the intricate web connecting memory and identity. The message flashed before me, a siren call I could not ignore. Intrigued, I clicked to learn more. The ebook promised to elaborate on the themes I was grappling with: the nature of memory, its fragility, and the powerful resonance of shared experiences. Would it reveal strategies for wielding my recollections with both caution and reverence? The potential of accessing such treasure troves of insight was exhilarating. Imagine delving further into this exploration, seeking resolutions to untangle the complexities of your past. I began typing into my notes, the excitement building within me. By grabbing the ebook, you can uncover more than just my narrative. It becomes a portal to understanding the broader human experience. With each word I typed, I felt an increasing sense of urgency. This isn't just about personal narratives, it's an expedition into the roots of who we are. The connections we share with our ancestors, the archetypes woven through time, these threads reshaped our identities. The prospect of gaining access to the insights within the ebook became more than mere curiosity. It became a necessity. Join me on this journey. Let's face the past together, I concluded with fervor, imagining a community navigating the nuances of memory, equipped with the tools to confront their own shadows. I could envision kindred spirits rallying around this shared venture, united in our quest for understanding and healing. Together, we can confront the intricacies that link us as people, I asserted, my heart racing at the thought of collective exploration. Each page holds wisdom that can transform our relationship with the past, offering guidance for a more profound understanding of our lives. As I continued to reflect on my perceptual journey, I began weaving pieces of my life into a poignant narrative. anchored by the realization that confronting the past did not equate to being defined by it. Instead, it was a path toward reclamation, a reclaiming of my agency. What lay before me was nothing short of a voyage through tangled memories, complex threads, intricate connections. Each moment held potential discoveries waiting to be unveiled. Every recollection isn't just buried, it's rich with possibility, I typed, propelling my thoughts forward. Together, we will redefine how our memories shape us, and, in turn, how we choose to intersect with others. I closed my eyes briefly, taking a deep breath, gathering the resolve to face what would come next. I could feel the weight of history pressing down, resonating through the room. A deep awareness washed over me. This journey was not one of solitude, but an unfolding tapestry where our stories intertwined into a vibrant narrative. Opening my eyes, excitement surged through me as I prepared to turn the pages of The Reckoning. With every click of the key, I embraced the uncertainty, ready to face what lay hidden beneath layers of time. This confrontation would reveal not only the shadows of my own life, but also reveal the echoes of experiences shared with those who walked these paths before me. As I continued this odyssey through time, I felt alive with the promise of uncovering buried potential. I had embraced the ability to shape my story, and that realization danced through me like the flickering light of forgotten moments, eager to break free from the confines of the shadows. Together, we would navigate this gradual emergence of understanding, threading our experiences together, illuminating every corner of our intertwined realities. The moment I pressed enter, an invisible door swung open, and the words of The Reckoning came rushing forth, cascading across the screen like a waterfall of insights, beckoning me to dive in. "Do not shy away from the turbulent waters," my aunt had written, steering me to confront the emotional torrent swirling within my psyche. The screen flickered slightly, reflecting the flickering light of the past that held so many memories waiting to be unearthed. "I stand at the precipice of discovery," I typed, my heart pounding with anticipation. Each letter was charged with urgency, each sentence an invitation to peel back layers of concealment I had crafted around myself. The shadows beckon, and within them lies not just fear, but opportunity, the chance to reforge my identity. Words began to pour from me. The cadence of my writing picked up, steeped in a fervor that danced almost mischievously through the air. "The truth is not to be feared," I asserted, feeling an electric charge of defiance surge within me. Every distorted memory holds the power to redefine us. If we but look closely, we see reflections of ourselves we never knew existed. I delved into the memories of my childhood with reckless abandon. The attic where I played in secret, the sound of rain pattering against the roof. Each moment conjured vivid imagery that immersed me further into that world. Every laughter shared with cousins and every sorrow felt in solitude were reminders of the complexity embedded in those formative years. How had I reconciled the joy with the shadows, the laughter scarred by the tiniest hint of loneliness? Suddenly, a notification jingled, casting an almost musical note across my stream of thoughts. Hit that thanks button to celebrate your journey of discovery and support the uncovering of hidden truths. The prompt felt both familiar and commanding, a reminder that my journey wasn't solely my own. It was part of a larger narrative shared collectively with souls traversing parallel paths. I took a moment to pause, pondering the significance of that button. It was more than a simple cryptocurrency transaction. It was an acknowledgement of shared exploration, an affirmation of the stories we dare to tell, and the scars we bore proudly. "Thank you for joining me on this journey," I typed, feeling warmth fill the space around me as I reflected on the experience. With every hit of that button, you illuminate the darkness we confront, the light of our collective understanding shining brightly. As the words settled on the screen, I felt as if I were inviting others into a sacred space, creating a community where we could reflect upon our past together. My heart swelled at the thought of the connections being forged through shared experience. In each of our stories, we can find the keys needed to unlock doors for others, I continued, infused with the spirit of unity that had blossomed in me. I recalled the fragments of conversations I had overheard in cafes, whispers that hung in the air like smoke curling towards the rafters, a poignant memory or a fleeting truth shared across tables. Would my audience understand the beauty inherent in those moments, the raw vulnerability embedded in stories still shrouded in shadows? By clicking the thanks button, you affirm the importance of confronting our multifaceted realities. Together, I urged, allowing the weight of my plea to hang in the air. Let's embark on this expedition into the past as allies, illuminating the dark corners where memories linger, waiting to be transformed into strengths. As I returned to the draft, every morsel of insight felt precious, and I cultivated the gaps between my own memories and those of others. I embraced the rich tapestry that we wove together in our vulnerability. It became a lifeline, a chance to share the narratives that informed our identities. Every written word became an echo of support, a rallying cry not just for myself, but for those grappling with the weight of generational trauma, memories distorted by time, or those searching for a semblance of inner peace against a chorus of conflicting voices. Through the haze of emotion, I could sense the healing power of shared stories extending like branches from a sturdy trunk. I closed my eyes for a moment, envisioning a communal gathering where we would all share our stories, shedding the burdens we had long carried. Each person would highlight their journey, the laughter, the confusion, the struggles, the triumphs. It felt illuminating, energizing, a gathering of souls encircling a bonfire crafted from the ashes of our past. In a rush of excitement, I opened my eyes and continued typing. Join me as we navigate the evolution of our narratives. Thank you button to support this journey, and together we will weave a narrative thread alive with the energy of healing and discovery. As the weight of my words settled heavily, new currents of possibility swirled around me. I could feel the threads of consciousness pulling together, the fabric of our shared legacy enriching every step of our exploration. I felt the ripple of emotion surge and transform around me, each memory an intricate note composing the symphony of our pasts. The shadows became no longer adversaries, but allies on this journey, fellow travelers inviting me to embrace every uncertainty, every mishap, every heartache. I began to feel resolute relief settle into my bones, a sense of profound understanding washing over me. This expedition would carve a path into the future, and I would share it with the brilliance of others, their stories weaving through mine and leading me to cages unlocked, truths revealed, and ultimately a resounding orchestra of human experience. Together we would embrace the beauty in the chaos and forge connections between our realities, bound forever by the echoes of memory and the threads still tangling in the fabric of time. A palpable energy filled the room as I delved deeper into The Reckoning. Each word scrolled across my screen with the urgency of a distant storm gathering force, promising imminent revelations. With every pulse of my heart, tension intertwined with anticipation, my fingers racing to capture the essence of reflections that long remained buried. Every moment of reckoning compounds upon the realities we choose to confront, I wrote fervently, allowing the gravity of those words to anchor my thoughts. I sensed the weight of history pressing down, urging me to explore the multitudes held within my past. How many decisions had I made subconsciously, shaped by fears or wounds I had never fully acknowledged? It was as if each fragmented memory were pieces of a puzzle waiting for the right moment to be assembled. Each fractured moment serves as a fiber woven into the intricate tapestry of, indeed, us, I continued typing, excited by the idea of connecting my experience with a larger continuum. And just as we confront ourselves, we embrace the complexity of others. The realization dawned upon me that this exploration was not merely about unearthing my past, but forging connections with the shared narratives of those around me. Suddenly, a hollow silence filled the room, interrupted by an enveloping thought, the powerful notion of intertwined realities, histories mingling like threads in a loom. How could I peel back those layers without grappling not just with my past, but also with the silent stories of my family, the threads they had spun that endlessly linked to my own? Did we truly grasp the depth of what our shared experiences could illuminate? My fingers hesitated over the keys, contemplating the connections bred from both pain and love. These emotions staked a claim in my heart, propelling me forward. The boundaries of time do not confine us, I asserted, and with each stroke of the keyboard, I felt boundaries eroding, revealing raw pathways into both light and darkness. Upon typing, the echoes of familiarity wrapped their tendrils around me. I could almost hear my aunt's laughter bouncing off the walls of my memory. The truths we unearth carry the potential to impact every generation, an echo that resonates beyond our immediate experience. I felt fire crackling in my chest, ignited by the knowledge that families carry histories, burdens, triumphs, and traumas, each one lending courage in the quest for understanding. With fervent energy, I transformed my realizations into an inviting invitation. Discover the fragments of your own narrative and embrace the wisdom within them, I urged, the urgency of my words amplifying. Grab the complete ebook to explore how stories from our family trees weave into our existence and show us the very shapes of who we can become. The ebook promised more than just my account. It was a portal inviting readers to step through to a deeper understanding of how layered memories exist. What if it offered strategies to navigate through the chaos of untold stories, providing the keys needed for others to redefine their own lives? The potential for collective healing felt tantalizingly within reach. Join me once again on this transformative journey. Together, we will trace the fractals of our shared realities, I typed, experiencing a surge of exhilaration. Look deeper. Each page holds profound wisdom waiting to be absorbed like sunlight after a storm. The notion of shared narrative came alive, filling me with hope for the healing it could facilitate, binding us in our ongoing unraveling. I paused, letting the weight of my plea linger in the air. Would others feel it? Would they sense the vibrancy woven through our stories? The thought pushed me further into the flux of possibility. My vision began to expand, spiraling outwards until I could almost visualize a vast network of souls weaving together through time, a tapestry of resilience, interspersed with the light of their brilliance and the shadows of hardship. The strength gained through sharing our histories is immeasurable. It creates the beams upon which our futures rest, I wrote, pouring my heart onto the page. Our burdens become blessings when transmuted through mutual understanding. Together, we must navigate this labyrinth, embrace its twists and turns, knowing that strength lies in vulnerability. With each paragraph I penned, I felt radiant authenticity coursing through every line, each stroke resonating within me like a resounding echo. I yearned for connection, not merely for my sake, but for the multitude of souls sharing this journey fraught with complexity. Embrace this adventure, I ended, excitement igniting within me. Support the exploration of our collective legacies by clicking on the thanks button. Your choice to engage empowers this journey and illuminates the lives of countless others who seek to reclaim their narratives. I closed my eyes momentarily, envisioning a future where our stories rippled through the fabric of existence, forever intertwining. Together, we would confront every shadow, cast light unto every corner, and transform despair into understanding. The realization left me breathless. This exploration would not only serve to reclaim my own narrative, but would resonate as a symphony of healing that echoed through generations, an integral part of our shared humanity. As I opened my eyes, I knew that my journey had only just begun. Each revelation would serve as a stepping stone toward connection. Together, we would transform pain into fortitude, threading the past into a vibrant tapestry brimming with understanding for the future. I would not walk this path alone. I would share it as we tread through the corridors of memory, crafting a path alive with purpose, ripe with collaborative exploration. With renewed clarity, I settled into the weight of my reflections, my heart pulsating with the echoes of history vibrating throughout the room. The reckoning was no longer just a narrative of reclaiming my past. It had transformed into a profound connection woven from the fabric of shared humanity. Each memory unearthed felt tied to countless stories of those who walked this delicate balance of existence before me. The shadows I once feared now sparkle with the iridescence of hope, I typed, allowing the moment to envelop me. We stand as guardians of our narratives. Every lived experience, laden with joy or sorrow, carries the power to illuminate the path for others who follow. The thoughts surge through me, igniting my passion for connection, a shared mission to traverse the complexities of our intertwining lives. I paused, reflecting on the warmth emanating from this gathering of stories, alive with shared history. Every fractured moment serves as a fiber woven into the intricate tapestry of us, I wrote with fervent energy. Visualizing our stories intertwining, I felt drawn deeper into the knowledge that this exploration was not solely about my past, but about the collective journey that we all embarked upon. Click the thanks button. It symbolizes your commitment to preserving our legacies, I urged, the urgency of our connection amplifying. It was not merely about personal narratives, but a communal endeavor to embrace our intertwining realities. Together, we would walk into the future with resilience, transforming burdens into blessings as we transmuted our history into strength. With each word I penned, I embraced the synergy among our shared tales. The potential of our collective healing felt tantalizingly close, invoking a vision of a vast network of souls weaving together, a tapestry of resilience adorned with the brilliance of our experiences. Join me on this adventure, I continued, excitement blossoming within. Support the exploration of our collective legacies by clicking that button. Your choice to engage empowers this journey and illuminates the lives of those seeking to reclaim their narratives. Finally, I closed my eyes for a moment, envisioning a future where our stories ripple through existence, forever intertwining. As I opened my eyes, determination surged within me. My journey was only beginning. Together, we could transform pain into fortitude, threading the past into a vibrant tapestry for future generations. I resolved to walk this path with courage, forging connections that would illuminate the shadows of our shared humanity, crafting a living testament to the strength found in vulnerability and understanding. This realization sparkled within me like a beacon, one that would guide us all as we ventured into the embrace of possibility.